All right, everyone, welcome back into another NBA DFS video. We are going to be breaking down this big 10-game slate on Wednesday. Chuck, any initial thoughts?
Yeah, it's a crazy slate. We have two pictures worth of questionables and probables, and a lot of guys are coming back, and those guys on those teams are kind of overpriced since those guys were out before. So, yeah, we have a lot to get through today.
Is there any spot that you want to start with here?
I don't know that there's any spot that sticks out among the rest. They're all kind of crazy. I think Memphis is probably the big one because Bane and Jaren Jackson are both doubtful. And then I think Tillman and Tyus were still questionable too. So John Morant's supposed to play, but Memphis is probably going to be full of value today. Santi Aldama, David Roddy, Conchar, all these guys really, Luke Kennard.
Yeah, and we're seeing that. Any love for Kenneth Lofton as well?
For Kenneth Lofton, it's so funny. He's showing up in my stuff, yeah. So we'll have to see the starting lineup, see who they throw out there. But pretty much most of these guys are going to be in play today. We'll see if the coach has anything to say that will help us. But I didn't really cross out anyone on the Grizzlies, so I think that most of them are going to be in play. We just have to see who's actually available.
Yeah, he's actually been someone I've really been kind of waiting to play. So
Yeah.
I'll probably end up on him a decent amount, I think, tonight. Just it's we had these guys late season NBA DFS that we're waiting on. He's one of them.
And it looks like he's already pulling some ownership, and so is Santi Aldama. So one thing I noticed, Kenny Lofton's pulling half the ownership of Santi. They're both pulling a ton, but that's one thing I would pay attention to. If Kenny's pulling a ton less than Santi, then that's probably going to be a pretty good pivot.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And we only have him projected to get 16 minutes. So if that holds true, it's probably too high.
Yeah. Well, if Tillman's out and they both end up starting or something, then we might just have to play both. But one thing I'll say, I'd be careful with the combinations of players that you restrict yourself from, like max of this guy or this guy on Memphis. Kind of like Charlotte yesterday. Like you just want combos of all of them, I think.
Yeah, that was a fun game to be on.
With that Dennis Smith getting ruled out 1 second after lock, yeah.
Oh gosh, that isn't that crazy though? How like it's in a weird way. You probably would have locked in like PJ Wash. I know we don't like to use the lock word, but probably would have locked in PJ Washington.
Yeah, I had a ton of PJ already. I probably would have locked him even more. But Teo Maladon was the guy I would have got more of. I had a bit,
Yeah.
but I had a dud in all the lineups with him. So fortunately, it didn't work out. But if you got to Teo yesterday, you were in a great spot.
And stacked that game too. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Let's talk about this Indiana Bucks game just real quick because we know Halliburton's out. Chris Middleton's a game time decision. Buddy Hield's out as well. And Miles Turner is a game time decision. Anyone that we're looking at particularly there, it does seem like there is going to be a decent amount of kind of minutes available. The question is, are they going to be valuable minutes?
I'm not that excited to play these guys today. Like Miles Turner, if he plays, is a really good price. TJ McConnell's still 6K. It still seems fine, but this is the first game of the night, and kind of what we were talking about on the last time we had a show, that there's so much news we're waiting for, and I don't think there's any smash plays in these first games that we're dying to get to, so I kind of just want to save the roster spots. But I mean, a couple of these guys are good GPP plays. I would just be kind of careful. Like Jordan Nwora is showing some crazy high ownership right now, and he's fine at that price, but he got benched again, like he has been almost every game. So if he doesn't get benched, he's going to be a great play. But if he's going to come in that high of ownership, it's a little bit risky.
And I think just looking at the minutes, this would probably be one of the games in which he's probably gone that many minutes. It doesn't seem like he's locked into getting kind of those minutes in general. Like 32 is a lot for him. Maybe he gets 35, but for the most part, since he's been with the Pacers, his most minutes that he's gotten has been 34. So projecting him to get 32.2 seems a little bit aggressive just because, like you said, he gets, going back to when he's with the Bucks, he just makes stupid plays that makes the coach mad, and then he gets benched.
Yeah, and it's so weird because he's playing so well in those 25 minutes with Indiana. So he set the record, I think, for most points in a quarter for the franchise last week. So
I believe it. He gets out and checks.
I don't know. We're showing 23% ownership. If it stays around there, that's not too bad. But if it goes, if it goes up higher, 30, 40 maybe, then I kind of just want to avoid it and wait for the later value because we are definitely going to get value that opens up after lock.
I will say it's very interesting to see the difference in ownership between Benedict Mathurin and Jordan Nwora. Do you have any kind of thoughts on that as well? Because I don't really get why we're getting that big of a difference there.
Well, it's funny because actually when we were talking about it a minute ago, and I was looking at the updated ownerships, I was expecting Mathurin to jump, but he really hasn't. He's around 10%. I think he's a fine tournament play as long as he stays around this. Again, first game, so not super excited, but
Yeah.
I think Nwora, Mathurin, I mean, those are really the guys I'm targeting. Maybe Miles Turner if he plays.
No, TJ McConnell.
It's like I think TJ McConnell's a good price, and his ownership's going to be so low. But coming off the bench, he can still get there. Obviously, it's a tough matchup against Milwaukee, though. But I just think we have so many spots. We have so much uncertainty later that I'm pretty sure I'm going to want those roster spots for someone later.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense there. And then just looking at it, we have Tyus Jones questionable, or doubtful. Yeah, he's doubtful. And then talking about blowouts in the comments here. It's late season NBA DFS where there are a lot of blowouts. We just kind of have to prepare for just a lot of deep value because of that. Like there's going to be low in value that we're on because of blowouts pretty much and just random stuff happening.
Yeah. Yeah, a couple of the other big ones, Joel Embiid and James Harden, are both questionable. I have no idea. I kind of think James Harden sits, but I don't know. I don't expect Joel to sit just because he wasn't hurt last game. He just needed a day off. So Joel Embiid's probably going to play. It looks like LeBron's going to play. Jalen Brunson, I really don't know. That's a big spot too. We should know before lock, hopefully. But if Brunson doesn't play quickly, he's going to be a great play again. They jacked his price way up on DraftKings though.
Yep.
A couple of the other, Chris Middleton's questionable. Miles Turner, we already talked about. Karl Anthony Towns and Giannis are both probable, so I think we can ignore those Q tags because they're both going to play.
Yep.
And then the only other questionables, Gabe Vincent, Kyle Lowry, and then Caruso. And Tillman's still questionable too. If Tillman plays, he's a top play. If Caruso plays, it's kind of a mess. And Chicago, not that interested.
And then, going to those later night games. I mean, with Utah, San Antonio, I love that game, but there's so much injury questions there. Is there, I guess, how are we attacking that game? Because to me, it seems like we want to have at least two players from that game in our builds. Let's just talk about that one in general, just kind of the process for that slate or for that game.
So this game starts an hour after lock. And so tonight we have two island games, 2 hours after all the other games. This is the last game before those island games. Lauri Markkanen's out. So Talen Horton-Tucker is going to show up every day. He's going to pull ownership every day. I thought he was a good play last slate because his ownership came down, but he's just so frustrating because I think we think he's better than he is. Like he had that 50-point explosion and he's returned 37 fantasy points a few times, but his price is really getting there up to 7K. And on today's slate, if he still pulls this ownership we're showing, it's really not that much, but he's going to be okay as a tournament play. But I kind of want to get away from him today a little bit. And then same with Kelly O. His usage is really high and his price is coming up too. And I just think that there's if you have them in your lineups, that's fine because you're going to be able to swap off of them after lock. But I don't think I'm going to end up when that game starts. I don't think I'm going to end up with that much of Kelly and THT. I think Walker Kessler is a better spot. And then maybe some of the other guys like Baji, Fontecchio, Chris Dunn will sneak in a little bit, but we'll have to see what other news we get later.
Yeah. And then just kind of looking at that game as well, what about Zach Collins? Because to me, it's kind of still a soft price point at 6.4. He is pulling in a decent amount of ownership on DraftKings, coming in at 23% projected own. Just with Keldon Johnson out, it feels like we should probably be on him a decent amount. And then obviously Jeremy Sochan is out. I don't think we're worried about Walker Kessler defense too much or Kelly Olynyk defense too much. Just at the price point, it does feel like a spot that we need to be going in on him. Is that a situation that you're going to be trying to chasing as well?
So from the Spurs, they're kind of just a bunch of guys, right? Like Zach Collins is their best player. Trey Jones probably second right now with those other guys out. I think that's all I'm getting to from the Spurs. And I do like Zach Collins' price on DraftKings, so 6,400 is great. And then Trey Jones, 5,700. I haven't been a fan of paying close to 6K for him this season, but I think it's okay tonight. We can swap off of him if we get other stuff anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree. It just this game is the only one that's projected to stay close and kind of high scoring for the slate.
Yeah, lots of blowouts today. I mean, we're gonna have to get lucky no matter what we do.
It's late season NBA DFS. It's kind of the beauty of it too.
Yeah, Well, it makes it more exciting. That's for sure.
Yes. And then I guess let's just talk about Portland as well. They are still pretty banged up. They were a spot for value kind of the last two slates. So I don't think there's going to be anything too shocking with this. We got Sharp popping up in there. 6.7 starting to get pricey. Little's priced up. We got Eubanks kind of priced up as well. Is there anyone in particular that you love from Portland with all the injuries?
That I love? No, but I think I'm playing pretty much all of them. Even Kevin Knox is just without Damian Lillard, no Simons, no Nurkic, no Jeremy Grant. There's just so much usage to go around. Shaden Sharp is probably the best option just because he's going to be the one who they expect to do the most. They don't mind. Like, whatever he wants to do tonight, he can do, and it's against Sacramento.
Yep.
I don't think we have to worry about him losing minutes to blowout run. Sacramento probably blows out Portland. I don't really see how Portland keeps it close.
Yeah.
But the other guys, Keon Johnson, I don't think. Well, actually, never mind. He's pulling a ton of ownership. I thought he was kind of going to fly under the radar, but everyone, I guess, is getting to him already.
Yeah, that's strange.
Yeah, 32% on DraftKings, 18 on FanDuel. All these Portland guys are pulling ownership already. Even Kevin Knox is above 20% on both sites. I don't know. We'll have to see what other value we have that opens up throughout the day. But I know I'm going to have a ton of Portland. At the very least, I'll be able to swap off of them as the news comes out. So I think they're all in play. Shaden Sharp's probably the best. Nas Little burned everyone last time. His price came up and everyone's still playing him. I think it's fine. And then Drew Eubanks is getting the playing time since Watford's out. There's no one really to come and take his playing time.
Yeah.
Like John Butler. I don't know who John Butler is.
Would you say that his ownership is actually a little bit too low? Because to me, that kind of stood out, at least on DraftKings, where he's 4.7. To me, it seemed a little bit too low.
I'm pretty confident I'm going to go into the slate with more Eubanks than the 24% we're showing. It's probably not going to stay till the end, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have more Eubanks than that, at least when lock happens. Yeah, I'm at 50% right now, so.
Yeah, and I'm just sorting it by ownership right now. The top projected own plays are going to be Ja Morant, and this is by DraftKings, Aldama, Keon Johnson, Little, Lofton, Eubanks, Collins, Isaiah Joe, Wara, Kelly Olynyk, Kevin Knox, Mikal Bridges. Are there any one of those players there that you would feel like we shouldn't be on that much, or is there any one of those players besides Eubanks that we should be on more? Because to me, I'm looking at that, and it kind of seems like we want to be on some of those players a little bit more potentially. Like I think if we're playing Kenny Lofton, we're going overweight by a lot on him. Like I don't know if we want to be even with the field. Same thing with Zach Collins, maybe Wara as well. What are your kind of thoughts on that?
Well, the first thought is Ja's ownership is definitely too high. I know he's 9K on DraftKings, but this is like a 10 or 11 game slate. Ja's the only player on his team tonight, but I don't know. It seems a little high. The price is really good on DraftKings, though, 9K. 9,900 on FanDuel is a little tougher to get to. I think that ownership is definitely too high. But for the cheaper guys, I think Santi is great. Keon Johnson's probably great, assuming he starts. Nas Little, I'm not sure, but he's probably okay. And then Kenneth Lofton at that super cheap price. That's going to be a really appealing spot tonight. The only thing I'll say there, just be careful with the groups on Memphis, guys. I don't think we want all the Memphis bigs together. If they both start, it's probably okay to have Santi and Kenneth Lofton together. Yeah, just watch the ownership. Like, their prices are both cheaper than Eubanks, so they're easier to get to. Eubanks has a better matchup against Sacramento than versus the Clippers, but it might not matter that much just because there's no one for these teams, so...
Yeah, no, I agree there. And then kind of let's sort by FanDuel just real quick, just to see. Little is the one that's popping up in the most, 52% on FanDuel, and he's a little bit more expensive on DraftKings at 5.1. I don't think it should be 28 to 52 for the ownership difference. I think it should be about even keel. Jalen Williams is also pulling in a ton of ownership on FanDuel as well. I guess we didn't really touch on that. SGA, he's out, right?
SGA, I thought he was in, but let me double check. Because he sat yesterday, I assumed, so he could play. Oh, yeah, SGA's out today.
Okay, so, yeah, that's why Isaiah Joe's pulling in some ownership. Are we looking at Jalen Williams and Josh Giddey as plays? I think Jalen Williams is just, I don't want to say, I guess the ownership surprises me that he's only coming in at 13% on DraftKings. I get why he's chalk on FanDuel because of the multiple position eligibility. Is that too low of ownership on DraftKings at 13%?
I think so. I had 100% on both sides yesterday, so I'm gonna probably do not 100%. Yesterday was a 6-game slate, but I'm gonna be very overweight on Jalen Williams. It's just blowout run. Blowouts do not affect him. They're playing Detroit anyway. If they're up by 30, he's gonna be in the court on the fourth quarter. If they're down by 30, he's gonna be on the court in the fourth quarter. Giddey. So yesterday I wasn't a fan of Giddey because his usage has just been down without a SGA, but he did really well yesterday. And his ownership is there. I think he's fine. His price came up a little bit, but Jalen Williams is definitely my favorite play from this team. And then Isaiah Joe, I didn't want to play him yesterday, and of course he went off when everyone else did. So I think he's a risky play. Watch Isaiah Joe's ownership. If it stays around here, that's probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's only coming in at 9% on FanDuel. To me, that seems like a pretty good spot to be in on him. It shouldn't be that big of a difference there.
Yeah, crazy. Sorry, my mistake. I was looking at the DraftKings ownership. If that stays around 20, that's fine. The 9% on FanDuel seems pretty good.
Yeah. And then let's just kind of sort by the OF index here, see which players are popping up the most. So yeah, looking at Giannis as the top play on the board, do we believe that? I guess that's a good spot to start with because he hasn't been dominating like he was really over the past 6 or 7 games. Is that too high of a price point against Indy? Again, that probably is going to be a blowout. They don't need him to do much because they're kind of fully healthy.
I'm actually kind of surprised Giannis's ownership is as high as we're showing, 11 and 17%. I would have expected it to be less. I'm okay getting there. It just, it locks up a spot in the first game, but I think locking up studs in the first couple games is much different than locking up the value plays. I don't love Giannis. One thing that was weird about him was his Vegas over-unders. The points are at 31.5, and then rebounds plus assists is at 19. So if you figure that, I mean, that gives us a 5x for 11.6. Then if he gets a couple blocks and steals, that's even better. But we do have that fear of blowout with Giannis. But like I said, I'm okay playing the studs from the first games more so than the value guys.
Okay. So, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. What about Anthony Davis with the potential that LeBron could be back?
At 2% ownership, I'm going to take some shots. 3% ownership.
Okay.
Like, I'm not going to go crazy on him, but I'll definitely be over that 3.
And then just kind of talking about Josh Giddey again and like Walker Kessler. When we're sorted by the OF index, those two are just popping up as like strong price point plays. Like at this point, it almost just seems like we have to be loading up on Walker Kessler.
Yeah, Walker Kessler is such an interesting player because he pops up in the index like this frequently. Today is a huge slate, and he's like 10th on the list, 9th on the list. And this doesn't factor in price. So just overall potential tonight, Walker Kessler is 9th according to the OF index, and his ownership is very low.
Yeah, it's multiple things. Obviously, Markkanen's out, Colin Sexton, those players are all out. And that's the matchup with the Spurs. Like, it's been a matchup that we've been wanting to attack really this whole season. It's a game that's projected to stay close, and it's a game that's projected to be high scoring. Like, it all comes together. And if he's going to be 13% projected own, we could easily be like 3 times that overweight on the field because that just seems too low.
Yeah, I'm definitely, as of right now, I'm above 20% on DraftKings. So it's probably going to stay around there, go up a little bit. I don't think it's going to come down.
Yeah, FanDuel, it's tough to work because we do have a lot of solid center plays. So I kind of get the ownership there.
One thing that's so interesting about Walker Kessler specifically, though, in FanDuel is he was the same price yesterday or 2 days ago whenever they last played when he put up that 50 ball, and he was less than 1% owned. And now he's the same price, and he's going for 20 on a bigger slate. I don't know. It's just kind of weird. He's still a great play, but that's the ownership on FanDuel is actually a little bit high for 7,900.
Yeah.
Still a great play, though. Don't avoid him.
And then just searching by DraftKings value there, Isaiah Joe's popping up, Contra's popping up, Eubanks is popping up. David Rodney, is that how you say it?
David Roddy?
Yeah, I haven't seen him really pop up too much. Any thoughts on him? He's coming in at 11%.
If he starts, I don't mind him. He's a guy who can hit threes, get a couple stocks, maybe a couple of rebounds. Again, he's not the type of player who's going to come in and take 20 shots with these other guys out. But at that price, and it's pretty low ownership, it's probably okay to take some shots. Like I said, with Memphis, I think we just mix it up. John Conchar showing at the top here. I thought he was the worst Memphis play, but the model thinks he's the best value. So
that could be a situation where we just have had data on him. So, these other players we don't have that much data on.
It's interesting. We only have him for 22 minutes, and he's popping up this high for FanDuel. So that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Yeah. This kind of seems like a slate where we need to be playing like as many bigs as possible and then just fitting in the guards.
Yeah, it's kind of looking like a lot of the value. I mean, we're sorted by FanDuel value. It's all guards and forwards at the top. Walker Kessler is the first center, Xavier Tillman. So
it's easy to make it work with that.
Yeah, and there are bigs to pay for today. So
let's see. We got a bunch of stuff going in the chat. Pretty awesome. A lot of people saying they love the show. Appreciate it, guys. They like the mic upgrade as well, Chuck, by the way.
I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
So they're wondering which Williams are we going in on. I could say like both of them. Like we like for OKC, but I would definitely say we want to go with the star player, Jalen Williams, because he's been a stud for them recently.
Yeah, he is. He's got to be top 3 in rookie of the year, I think.
Oh yeah, especially now with late in the season and whatnot.
Yeah, definitely top 5, if not top 3. But this kid's a stud. Jalen Williams. So the problem with the other Jalen, and I hate that sounds so rude. Jalen Williams with a Y, the center. It's just his playing time is so variable. He's usually not going to get that monster run that we want. Not even 30 minutes. So it's kind of tough to get there. But he's a tournament play.
Yeah, I mean, on this slate at that price point, I get like we just don't want to play him. Pretty much, I would say like if it was a 4-game slate, sure. If he was $1,000 cheaper, sure. But there's other plays that we can get to pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah. Jaw today. Jaw is probably the best pay up on the slate, like just looking at pure numbers. But when his ownership is that high, I'm kind of hesitant to get there as much. I'm still getting there. I'm playing Jaw Morant today, but just mix him up with the other options if you are getting to Jaw a bunch.
What are we hoping for from Ja though? If we're playing him at that ownership, like we've seen him come back now. He's played 3 games, 29 minutes, 19 minutes, 24 minutes. He put up 41, 34, and 34. Like at this price tag, that's just not enough to warrant that. Like, are we hoping for? Obviously, we're hoping for 50, but is that going to be enough to really take down a GPP? Maybe, but
yeah, if he comes in 50% owned at 9K on DraftKings, then maybe. But that's just because he's in half of the lineups in the contest.
Yeah.
Like if I'm playing a ton of Jaw today and he scores less than like 55, I'm probably pretty disappointed. But he doesn't need 55 to be in the winning lineup since he's going to be so owned. But probably definitely needs 50.
I want to sort by point guards. Like, what are other good point guard plays that we can be on over him that have the same GPP winning potential? Does Josh Giddey?
Yeah.
Okay.
Can't say he doesn't.
Okay. Spencer Dinwiddie or like Kevin Porter Jr.?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of taking shots on both of those guys today. Spencer's pulling ownership, but KPJ isn't.
Yeah, and they're going off against each other. That's like a sneaky game stack, I think, today. Just both teams that kind of randomly go off. Obviously, we want to be chasing matchups against Houston, so kind of a sneaky game there. Let's see here. If Jalen Brunson is active, maybe him against Miami coming in at 7.5.
It's kind of funny. Jalen's cheaper than Quickly.
That is true. Like what?
The first thing that pops out here, though, if we're sorting by the index and looking at DK point guard, so Luka's coming in for 4% ownership, then Ja at 50, and then James Harden at 5. Ja Morant and James Harden should not be 50 versus 5%. They're slightly different plays, but James Harden deserves a little bit more than that. And
especially if Embiid's out.
Yeah, especially if Embiid's out. And then De'Aaron, Kyrie, Drew Holiday, even Russell Westbrook. I think these guys are all great GPP plays. So don't necessarily play them instead of Ja. Like play them in some lineups instead of Ja, but mix these guys in with Ja, and you don't have to do as much to get different.
And then last one I want to mention is like Isaiah Joe as well. Like I'm not sure. I think he's shooting guard eligible, but like another guard that could really go off. That's not as high owned.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at Isaiah Joe similar to like Gary Trent. Like he can go off, but he's a guy I really hate playing when he's chalk. With SGA out today, though, the ownership isn't that bad, so it's okay. We're just really hoping for a great shooting like he put up last night.
Yeah, I mean, we're just betting on him shooting well. Is pretty much it.
I mean, if he gets like 12 to 15 shots, that's pretty good at that price. So
yeah, for sure. What is a good OF index rating? That depends on the slate completely. Obviously, the bigger slates that we have, the higher people are going to be popping up, or the more people that are going to be popping up on the OF index because there's a higher volume of players. So it really just depends on the slate. Any more to that, Chuck?
Not really. I mean, we usually say 10 OF index is considered elite, but it's different on different slates. So like today we have, 30 guys with a 10 or higher OF index. And so there's not necessarily 30 elite plays on this slate, but it's relative to the other guys around them.
And if you guys are Occupy Fantasy members, there's all these like little tabs here that you can kind of get more information on how that stuff works as well. If not, link in the description.
Top center plays if we're only playing one on DK. I'm going to give you a few options, just the centers I'm getting to the most. Santi Aldama, Zach Collins, Drew Eubanks, Kenny Lofton, Joel Embiid, Nick Claxton, Vooch, Kessler. That's pretty much it. So
yeah. I mean, that's the problem. There's too many good ones.
Yeah, there's a lot of good centers. And even the other guys I didn't mention, Turner, Xavier Tillman, if he plays. Giannis is center eligible. So,
like, if you were doing a single entry, like, that's extremely difficult to do today, just in general, because You're fading a good play at a good price point, no matter what.
Yes.
Obviously, in GPPs, you can spread the ownership out.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Nick Claxton, we didn't even mention him.
Yeah, we did not talk about Nick Claxton. 7K against Houston. We like centers against Houston.
Exactly. Yeah. He has 40-point upside, 45-point upside, double, maybe a couple blocks.
Yeah, it's
Definitely
great.
interesting there.
This is such a good game environment. This Houston Brooklyn game. I love that as a tournament call.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull that one up just directly here because there's so many ways so many ways to make it work. Wow. Sorry. Because they're all so cheap. I mean, the highest priced player is Mikal Bridges at 7.6. It wouldn't be shocking to see him put up 45. It wouldn't be shocking to see Spencer Dinwiddie put up 45. Kevin Porter Jr. and Jalen Green can both go off on a random slate. Well, I shouldn't say both go off. They could individually go off on a random slate. And like Sengun, maybe he's been phased out a little bit, but Cameron Johnson can go off. Like there's so many decent plays here that could really be unique. And like they're not too high owned.
No, and that's the thing. I'm looking at like Kevin Porter and Jalen Green versus Dinwiddie and Mikal Bridges. It's a pretty decent like ownership difference. I think we just want to mix it up. I really want to get to these low-owned guys from this game, though. Everyone from this game.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like Jabari Smith had some random pretty good games. Finney Smith maybe could have a good game. Gets maybe 3 steals or something, and I don't know, makes a couple threes or something.
One thing I do want to mention with Claxton is Day'Ron Sharp randomly comes in sometimes and gets a bunch of minutes and puts up monster games. Now, we don't want to play Day'Ron Sharp because it's too risky, but just understand how it might affect Claxton's minutes tonight.
And we had some thoughts on Tyler Hero.
If Jimmy Butler's out, Tyler Harrow's going to look great at his price. 6,500 on DraftKings is too cheap, even with Jimmy in. So even if Jimmy's in at this price, I'm going to be a fan of getting to some Tyler Harrow. If Jimmy's out, then he's probably one of the better mid-range plays on the slate.
And then what about FanDuel, where he's only 3%?
On FanDuel, let me see the pricing.
He's 7.2 on FanDuel, so a little bit higher price, but in comparison to FanDuel, it's not like terrible.
Yeah, I'd say if Jimmy's in, he's still a GPP play, and if Jimmy's out, then he's a very strong GPP play at that price. Same with Bam.
We got a question on James Earl Robinson. That's interesting to me.
Is he starting?
I don't know. Maybe.
If he starts, then he's in play. Yeah, he's pretty cheap, but it's really hard for me to want to target any of these other Thunder guys besides the starters because we have no idea what their coach is thinking that day. Like, if you were in the Discord, I talked about Usman Deng yesterday. I thought was a sneaky play at min price. He got 2 rebounds. And so, I don't know these other guys. If we already have Isaiah Joe, Lou Dort, Jalen Williams, Josh Giddey, Jalen Williams, I don't know. It might be too thin to get to Jeremiah Robinson Earl. But if he starts, then you're going to get him at low ownership. So he's a GPP play.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets 20 minutes, sure. Like, look, you can be even weight with the field.
Yeah, the problem is he takes up a roster spot. Like, regardless of who he is, I don't want James Robinson Earl or Jeremiah Robinson Earl to take up a roster spot.
Yeah, no, I agree there for sure. And then we got, is Kevin Knox risky?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the Portland players are risky, though.
Yeah, the thing we care about is minutes. I mean, we're playing DFS. Everything's risky, right? There's no such thing as a safe play. If there was a safe play, we would just play him in every lineup. But Kevin Knox was the worst player in the NBA like 3 years in a row, and that's not an opinion. That was like a statistical fact. But he played 30 minutes and took 15 shots last game, so his price is reasonable. I think he's probably going to pull more ownership than he deserves, but if you have him in your lineups now, that's good because we can swap to other people later.
Like it. And then thoughts on Kelly Olynyk. I guess my initial thoughts would be, if Walker Kessler becomes chalk, which it doesn't seem like he will, then Kelly Olynyk could be a good pivot from there. But Kelly Olynyk is also pulling in a lot of ownership. I would say just in this game, we want to be getting to some players in this game, whether that's Kelly Olynyk, whether it's Walker Kessler, whether it's Zach Collins on the other side. Like, it does seem like we want to be getting some exposure there.
Yep, I agree.
And then if you guys have any more questions, definitely get those in. We're kind of doing a little bit of a different style today, just trying to see if that works out, trying to get a little bit more chat engagement. So yeah, let us know. And also, if you guys are watching this, make sure to give a like to the video. We got about 40 viewers, only about 16 likes, so let's pump those numbers up as well. And that's the crazy thing about this slate. It's a big 10-game slate. We do have enough injury news coming in, but we're going to get a lot more as the day progresses. Like, it wouldn't be surprising to see like Ant-Man maybe sit or something like that. Kevin Durant is a game time decision. He's probably going to play, but who knows?
Yeah, I think Kevin Durant plays today. They've been hyping it up. Suns fans are, super
Suns
excited
fans.
about it. So we'll have to see. It's the last game of the night, so we'll have plenty of time. This game is going to pull no ownership, and so if you get to these guys, I don't know if any of them are like standout plays, but no one's playing these guys. If you get to this Minnesota Phoenix game, and it's not, I don't think it's such a bad fantasy environment that all these guys should be under 5%.
Yeah, I mean, could we get to Chris Paul at all at 7.3? Just, I feel like it doesn't matter who's active or inactive. He can have random upside games.
Yeah, I like that. 7,300 for Chris Paul at no ownership. A lot of the guys we talked about are going to be better plays, just cheaper with more opportunity, underpriced, whatever. But we still want to play some guys who are correctly priced. And Chris Paul's actually a little bit underpriced on DraftKings, but I mean, no one here is 5% owned. This total game ownership is like 12%. So,
And it's not like a low scoring game. It's 235. Like,
yeah, and it's like the late night hammer. Like, I don't know.
yeah.
I think this is a pretty good spot. Even Devin Booker with Kevin Durant back has been pretty good. I'm probably going to avoid Kevin Durant due to minutes, but everyone
Yeah.
else looks good. Maybe Cat even at his 29 minutes.
I, I don't know. Minnesota's tough right now.
Yeah. Kyle Anderson's price is still up there. He's pulling zero ownership today compared to whatever he was last slate. Cat's back, so it's different, but at 1%, I might take a shot on Kyle Anderson still.
Yeah, I mean that role. I mean the minutes are still there. Like that role is not gonna. It's gonna change, but like he's still gonna be doing the same things on the court. It's not like when Kyle Anderson's on the court, he's doing the same stuff. It's not like he's stepping into a different role, like how some other players will. Isaiah Joe, for example, when he's on the court with SGA, it's a different player. That's not exactly Kyle Anderson.
Yeah, that's a great example because Kyle Anderson is not going to score up his fantasy points by taking 15, 20 shots, whereas Isaiah Joe has to take 15 shots to get there. Kyle Anderson's just going to do the dirty work.
Yes, rebounds, assists, some steals, some blocks. And then, let's see here. I did have something I wanted to bring up, but I can't remember now. Oh, Jalen Duren at all? Any love for him? Because he's been kind of at a sneaky good price point. Not someone that's like we're going out of our way to play, but he's coming in at 5.1 on DraftKings, 10% projected ownership. Any love for him, or do we just not want to use up that center spot? I bring that up because it's a really good matchup against OKC.
So I personally think it's okay to play Jalen Duren in these spots when he's 5K. Even if he only gets 24 minutes, he has shown a very high fantasy upside in that time. And so if you play him, you understand the risk. He could play 19 minutes and do nothing, but he could also play 24 minutes and put up a monster score. What was his ownership at?
We got it at 10% on DraftKings, and I haven't refreshed this in like 40 minutes since the live stream started, so it could be slightly different.
Okay, 10% is actually higher than I was hoping for, but I can't imagine he's actually going to come in 10%. So he's a pretty good GPP play, I think.
Yeah, I think when the dust settles on the slate, probably 7%.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And when I say he's a good GPP play, we project him for 7% closer to lock. If you have like 10, 11%, that's already a lot. So don't think you have to go crazy on Jalen Duren or anything.
And just for people wondering, the appeal to him is, and I'll just read off the game log here. Against Milwaukee, 28 minutes, 38 DraftKings points. Toronto, Miami, 2 duds. Denver, 27 minutes, 43 DK points. Washington, kind of a dud, only 18 minutes. And then he had 2 really good games against the Pacers while getting 24 and 20 minutes. So, like, the GPP winning upside is there for him. We can't accurately project the minutes, but it's a good matchup at a good price point.
Yep, I agree. And James Wiseman's there too, but it's a little bit different since Bagley's starting next to him. His usage is less.
It's funny on I think it was the Monday video, I was talking up Duren as an option. I'm like, well, going against Milwaukee, there's the potential again to foul trouble with Giannis and Brook. Giannis ended up sitting, but then it was actually Duren that got into foul trouble. And so Wiseman and Bagley got a little bit more run, which is kind of funny.
Yeah. And so, yeah, sounds good to me.
So let's pull it up. We got any thoughts on Sabonis? Good matchup.
Yeah. It's his ownership.
His ownership is 6 and 12%.
I don't hate it. They're probably going to blow out Portland pretty bad, but At that ownership, at that price, Sabonis has been really good.
Yeah, the question would be, do we want to take up a center position at that high of a price point? That's kind of my biggest issue there. What is your kind of thoughts on that there?
Well, it's funny. When I was going through that center list a few minutes ago, I noticed that Sabonis wasn't on it. So I'm actually getting 0% Sabonis right now. I'm going to change that and try to get a couple percent in my 150 set. But I guess that says something that all my centers are pretty cheap. Santi, Zach Collins, Drew Eubanks, Joel Embiid I'm getting, but then Nick Claxton, Kenny Lofton. So that's one thing to consider. If the field is going to kind of probably go cheap with a lot of these center guys, then paying up at center makes sense.
Yeah, but I guess what's the probability of, let's say, Sabonis going for 60 or 55, which is kind of what he needs to do. Whereas, like, we got Zach Collins, Lofton, we got those players where it's, I don't want to say it's easy to see them 7x. It's never easy to see a player doing that, but given their price points, given the games, it's not that hard for them to do. It's, I guess, I don't know. I have a tough time getting to Sabonis. It is a great matchup, though.
Yeah, I'm looking at it a little bit closer. I'm probably not going to get there, actually. Because the consideration, if we're not playing Sabonis, or if we are playing Sabonis, then we're foregoing one of the other value guys. And then now we have to take a value guard, which we do have value guards. But I think that the value bigs are kind of stronger today.
Yeah, it definitely seems like that for sure.
So, yeah, Sabonis, deep tournament shot, I think that's about it. There's a lot of players in his price range that can give us what he's going to give us, or even cheaper.
No, I agree.
He is high on the index, though.
He is. So we got someone running out a Giddy Williams stack, and he might run it back with Ivy and Bagley. Interesting there. Any thoughts on that?
I don't hate Bagley as a tournament play. His price is definitely a little bit too high, but he's shown a ceiling, and it's not a terrible matchup against OKC. It's still a little more than I'd like to pay. And then same with Jaden Ivey. His price is coming up, but he's been fantastic. I don't think we have to worry about him losing minutes because of blowout. He's kind of safe like Jalen Williams is safe. And so I like Jaden Ivey more than I like Marvin Bagley.
What about, I mean, we probably don't need to play him, but like Corey Joseph projected to get 25 minutes. We've seen him have a little bit of upside games. I guess it's probably a little bit too thin on a 10-game slate. But any thoughts on him?
It's probably a little bit too thin. Just looking at the index, it's not really a fan of the value or the index score. Okay. Killian Hayes looks okay, though, if you want to get to the starting point guard, not pulling too much of ownership.
Yeah, I like that. It's like going against OKC. If we get one of those bigs to run it back with, I'm fine with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd probably set a rule like play max one from this group, Duran, Bagley, Wiseman, if those guys are all in your player pool.
Yep. And then let's see here. What about running Kelly Olynyk and Walker Kessler together? So for me, like if we're doing that, if we're running both of them out, I think that we just have to be playing both of those two, and then probably just running it back with Zach Collins, because we're saying that game is going to be a close game, and we're kind of just saying that the bigs are going to be going off, and they're all at a pretty good price point. I would say if we're doing that, we're kind of just stacking the game then at that point. They are cheap. Kind of what are your thoughts on that? Or is that just you don't want to go with three of them?
So I don't know if I'm going to set a rule. Just looking through the last set I made on DraftKings, 2 out of my 150 have Kelly O and Walker Kessler together, and they both have a run back from the Spurs, Trey Jones. So it's something to consider. I mean, like I said, I'm probably not going to set a rule to prevent it, but if I'm hand building, it's just not something I'm probably. It's just it feels kind of weird, I think. So it's probably not something I'm going to do. We kind of just want one of them to have that monster game. But the way Kelly gets his fantasy points, he can do it next to Walker. You know, Walker gets his 7 blocks, Kelly gets his 7 assists, whatever, and they both get rebounds and a few points.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like a slate in which we need to be directly doing any rules like that just because of the value that's out there.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And then if there aren't any questions here, we'll be closing up in kind of the next minute or so. Chuck, you just want to give them the rundown of the Discord and how that works?
Yeah, if you guys want to join the Discord, you can go to the Occupy Fantasy Twitch page, and if you use your Twitch Prime, your free Twitch Prime on that, you'll have access to the Discord. On the days that we don't do the YouTube live, we do have a live Q&A in the Discord. It's hosted by myself or DFS Jayhawk, and it's pretty great because it's not just the person speaking contributing. People are giving their opinions in the comments, asking about guys. So it's a pretty great community. I think you should join. If you're not going to join the Occupy site yet, join the Discord, and you can get a lot of good info before you decide to finally join the Occupy website.
Yeah, and if you guys do want to join the Occupy website, obviously we have the model for NBA as well as all the other sports. I have the lineup builder, have the daily plug for sports like PGA, MMA, and MLB as well. Obviously NFL when that comes around as well. So definitely good tools there. Pretty easy to use this OF model as well. So check that out.
Perfect day to sign up too. MLB opening day is tomorrow, and we have some great content coming out for that.
For sure. All right, so no questions. We're going to be getting out of here. Appreciate you guys being in here. Be in the Discord chat if you guys have any questions. Any last thoughts?
No, I would say main thing is just save your roster spots for later.
All right. Good luck, guys.